Now I'd like to invite Ms. Natalia Tokareva. Dr. Tokareva is a program specialist in UNESCO Institute for Information Technologies in Education, and she will be telling us about the new opportunities and new challenges for the ICTs in education. Welcome.
Distinguished organizers, dear participants, first of all, I would like to say that it is a pleasure and an honor for me to take part in this great and important event, which is held here in Poland. So let me thank the Ministry of National Education for this kind invitation, and also I would like to provide my best words to the European Agency for the Development on Special Needs Education, and it is a pleasure for me to be involved in cooperation. Firstly, I would like to briefly describe the main trends of our work of the UNESCO Institute for Information Technologies in Education. This institute was established in Moscow in 1997 by the decision of the UNESCO General Conference, and now it is one of the 7 institutions all around the world, which is focusing its activities directly on the information and communication technologies in different fields and levels of education. Now we are working with such topics as preschool education or early childhood education, primary education, secondary education, vocational education and training, distance education, and of course education of persons with disabilities by means of information and communication technologies. It is one of the oldest projects of our institute, and I will tell you more a little bit later. Speaking about the priorities of our activities, I can mention main 4 priorities. First of all, it is promoting policy dialogue, high-level policy advice, improving access and exchange of information on information and communication technologies in education. Following this initiative, we are trying to provide technical support to the UNESCO member states in the development of the national educational strategies. We held international conferences, provide special workshops and high-level policy meetings. Speaking about the second priority, ICT use in teachers' professional development, I would like to say that currently for UNESCO it is one of the main topics. It is a very important topic because the UNESCO's big program, I would say big program, Education for All, could not be realized without the high-level professional competency of teachers, also in the field of information and communication technologies. The third priority is fostering ICT-enhanced learning through knowledge sharing, media and information literacy, and open educational resources. In this trend, we are trying to accumulate best international activities, analyze it, and of course disseminate the results of our work. Later I can provide an example for you. For example, we have some initiatives, and in the next year we will have our own massive online courses devoted to some issues of information and communication technologies in education. For example, in primary education, very interesting course, and all of you are invited to participate in this massive online open course. And finally, the fourth priority of our activities is reinforcing UNESCO-associated schools and UNESCO chairs networks operating in the field of information and communication technologies in education. I'm sure that you know that in each country you have UNESCO-associated networks such as UNESCO schools and UNESCO chairs, which usually based on the universities or academies. And if in your country, in Poland, you have such chairs, UNESCO chairs and UNESCO associated schools which are working in this field, it will be a pleasure for us to invite them, the specialists from these networks, to be involved in our project, to our network. Speaking about the forms of our work, I have already mentioned about the best practices, about analysis and policy advice. One of the most important activities of our institute is disseminating the results of the projects. On our website you can find a huge electronic library which contain a lot of resources devoted to different questions, different problems of ICTs in education. For example, the recent publication which you can see in the slide is Information and Communication Technologies in Education, this blue book. However, it is in Russian because one of the main goals was to disseminate among Russian specialists some results of our international projects. Anyway, you can find a lot of materials in English language and some other languages. One interesting type of publications is policy briefs. Policy brief is a very short document. It's a kind of analytical document, about 8 pages, which contains main concerns, main issues on legislation, ICT infrastructure, curriculum modifications, ICT teachers' professional development and other problems. And you can see the list of topics which were produced by our institute, among them massive online courses, cloud computing, alternative models of education delivery, ICTs for curriculum changes, and a lot of others. Concerning the topic of our today's conference, I would like to ask you a question. What information means in our life? If anybody will ask me, I will say everything. Everything information will mean in our life. And the impact of today's technology progress is huge on our daily lives and also on education. Education in the information society have the significant role for each human life and during all this life, the whole life. What skills should we have at the 21st century? There are a lot of researchers in this field. However, we can identify several types of skills which are necessary for the successful participant of the society in the 21st century. First of all, we can speak about the skills of lifelong learning. It means that the person, successful member of the society, should have good level of critical thinking, problem solving, and some communicational skills. The next type of skills we can identify are skills of media literacy. Media literacy is very important, and all of us understand that it is not possible to find a good job, without media literacy, without computer literacy. And this type of skills include information literacy and even digital literacy. And another type of skills for everybody is skills for life and career. It includes flexibility and capacity to work in teams. All that I have already mentioned is very important for persons with disabilities. However, we have specific role of information and communication technologies in education of persons with disabilities. First of all, we can say that the great impact is access to information. Also, information and communication technologies support communication and improve distance isolation of such persons. However, while we are planning our activities on ICT integration into the educational process, we should consider some possible risks which can appear during our activities. Such risks can appear, you can see it, internet and game addiction, autistic disturbance, health issues, and as Terry has already mentioned, safety issues, just specific internet safety issues. It is also very important. So why ICT accessibility matters? Why it is very important to persons with disabilities? Here in the slide you can see some figures which came from different sources of information. First of all, International Telecommunication Union, they have the annual report, and from some other agencies and sources. Currently in the world we have about 1.4 billion personal computers in use, just in use because we need this information, 2.3 billion of internet users, 4.2 billion TV sets users, and more than 6 billion of cell phones and accordingly users of mobile devices. It is very important. And when we think about the persons with disabilities, it is very important to have the opportunity for them to access information and to have access to these devices. Modern technologies provide unique possibilities for people with disabilities. However, insufficient access is creating new barriers, and these barriers can cause exclusion and social isolation of such categories of users, of persons. Today, several speakers have already mentioned about the terminology, about what is accessibility. And again, accessibility is a measure of the extent to which a product or service can be used by a person with disability as effectively as it can be used by a person without that disability. One of the main documents which defend the rights of persons with disabilities, of course, it's UN Convention, which was adopted by the UN General Assembly in 2006. And nowadays, I will show you the map. You can see that a lot of countries have signed the convention and ratified the convention and the protocol. In red colors, you can see the countries which have ratified the convention and protocol, and you can see that most of the European countries have done it. Poland has signed the convention very early and has ratified it during the previous year. What does it mean? Ratification and the signature of the convention means that the state, the government, takes some duties for persons with disabilities. One of the main tasks is to create condition under which persons with disabilities, people with disabilities, could get quality and competitive education. And by this way, they can participate in economic, social, and cultural life of their society. Following this intention, I would like to pay your attention to some concerns which can appear during the ICT integration into educational process. At the policy level, we are speaking about incorporative of UN Convention principles into the national system of education. What about capacity level? On this level, we should consider that ICT integration into the educational process means a lot of things to do. First of all, access to educational content should be provided for persons with disabilities. IT infrastructure should be developed and adopted to the needs of each person. It means personality. Curriculum modification should be also done. And I have already mentioned about the development of teachers' ICT competencies, firstly in the field of accessibility. And advocacy level, the state, the government of the country which have signed the convention should provide evidence-based reports on the current situation. Regular monitoring should be also be organized. Appropriate methods of assessment and monitoring the efficiency should be provided. And today there were a lot of ideas concerning multi-stakeholder partnership. It is very important, really. And now coming back to our IITE activities, I would like to say that the main goal of our project on ICTs for education of persons with disabilities is to provide support to the UNESCO member states in their activities in development of quality and accessible education for different persons for different kinds of students. First, I would like to present you rather old policy brief, however it's relevant till now. It's ICT for inclusion, reaching more students more effectively. Amanda and our colleagues have already mentioned about our cooperation with the European Agency for the Development of Special Needs Education. There is our joint publication, joint research, review of innovative practice. One of the main not main, but very interesting publications which was realized in the Russian Federation is a specialized training course devoted to information and communication technologies for persons with visual disabilities, for those who are blind and partially sighted. Actually, in the work of our institute, we have some practical projects and pilot projects. I would like to shortly describe you one of the initiatives. It is development and establishment of a specialized IT center for blind and partially sighted persons in the Republic of Armenia, in Yerevan. 2 years ago, in cooperation with the International Telecommunication Union, the UNESCO IITE has provided its recommendations for technologies for equipment of such center, and together with ITU, we have established this IT center for visually impaired persons. And after that, on the basis of this I suppose, good center, unique center, I suppose. We have provided several training activities, several trainings for the specialists from the Republic of Armenia, how to deal with technologies and provided general training on ICTs in inclusive education. Thanks to Mr. Voller, who have participated in our activities in our seminar. Our institute is open for collaboration and collaboration activities. The possible ways of cooperation and collaboration with international specialists are mentioned in this slide. First of all, we have initiated several new projects, such as development of different level model of ICT competency of teachers in the field of accessibility. The second one is the pilot project of the UNESCO Associated Schools Network Accessible Education, based on the model of cooperation between IIT and associated network within our project. And the final is promoting support in development of strategy on ICTs in education of persons with disabilities at national and regional and probably even school levels. Coming to the end of my presentation, I would like to say several words to mention, I suppose, very interesting words of the professor from China, Mr. Jiang Xu, who said that if anybody asks me what the internet means to me, I will tell him without hesitation. To me, a quadriplegic, the internet occupies the most important part of my life. It is my feet that can take me to any part of the world. It is my hands which help me to accomplish my work. It is my best friend. It gives me life meaning. So with these words, I would like to finalize my presentation and invite all of you to cooperate. If you have any initiatives, you can contact me or contact our institute, and we can discuss the opportunities for cooperation. Thank you very much for your kind attention.